All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the new episode of the Dreamers podcast. Today I have a special guest, Riki Prosper. If you want to kind of go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit to the audience.
Hello, my name is Riki Prosper. I'm a artist of sorts. I do a lot of concept art, mainly like music based or pop culture based. But yeah, I'm just your average Joe human being.
I appreciate you coming on the show. Could you kind of start with, I guess, giving a brief description, and I'll have, examples of your art thrown up on the screen. But can you kind of describe your art style? You make a wide variety, so that might be kind of hard to do. But how would you describe your art?
Oof, yeah, no, that's a bit of a tough one. I like to kind of switch it up every so often too. Um, I don't know. It's definitely kind of pop culture based. I kind of get a concept in my head, whether it's combining two things that aren't usually together, or if it's doing kind of a fan art sort of thing where it's mixing album art with like a TV show or an anime, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I really enjoy music and stuff, so I like using that as kind of a base, but I do enjoy going outside that box as well, designing products and so on. Just, I don't know. I really just enjoy the design process. And when I see something I like earlier this year, I got kind of interested in watches. So I was like, why not design
Mm-hmm.
some watches myself? Like, there's no reason you have to be a watch designer to design watches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's one of my. I guess I don't know if you consider it a series, but you've uploaded several where it's like watches, but they're based around different artists or like artists' albums, or you've done skate decks, you've done swords pretty recently, I think. So
Yeah.
it's always cool to kind of see like how you're able to incorporate those different album arts and kind of the vibe or the era or whatever of that artist during that time
Yeah.
into a sword or a skateboard. And I'll kind of talk about some more of those later as well. But before we get into that, I just kind of want to talk about really how you got to where you are today with your art. Because I know you do, like graphic design, digital art, you've done photography. And so I'm just curious how, your artistic journey is and how you've gotten to, the place you are now.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a fan of art my whole life. Luckily, I was lucky enough to have some very supportive parents when it came to art. My mom was big into photography, and my dad's an architect, kind of engineer sort of thing. So I always have
Mm-hmm.
been around it. And I remember in elementary school, art class was one of my favorites. I was also lucky enough to have a great art teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's kind of funny. I started with art and then started doing a little bit more photography, and then I wanted to push that further, so I went into video production. Um, and I do that. Went to college for that and got a minor in art. Um, but I don't know. I've always just art's always kind of been a big part of my life. I remember one of the jobs I wanted in middle school was a skateboard designer for Element skateboards.
Uh-huh.
I think it's because I played a lot of Tony Hawk Underground,
Same.
and you got to like choose which team you wanted. And I think I was just big into like
Mm-hmm.
Viva La Bam and Jackass and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I went with Bam Margera's team, which was Element at the time. And I don't know, I really
Mm-hmm.
liked how they just kind of connected to nature with their designs, and their logo is just iconic in my head. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and so then like I'm just kind of hoping that younger me would be proud because I'm designing skateboards now. We just designed an MF Doom deck, me and HipHop Heaven, who I believe was on a
Mm-hmm.
previous episode of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yep.
just
Shout
released.
out. Shout
Yeah.
out Hip Hop Heaven.
Oh yeah, he's the homie. He's the man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He pulls stuff out of his magic hat, and it's just amazing. It's really cool to see all the projects he works on, and also just the different
Mm-hmm.
um, mediums he can do too, like wood cutting to like card designing and stuff. It's really cool. He's definitely very inspirational. But yeah, I don't know. I just I guess a few years back, maybe like 2018, I started kind of just posting it more on Instagram, making that what my Instagram
Mm-hmm.
was more about rather than the like what I ate last night, that kind of thing that we all used to do in
Yeah.
early IG days.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I don't know. I've had a couple things that were kept pushing me. I did a some artwork that was Lil Yachty in the style of Peanuts, and a
Mm-hmm.
local Atlanta guy who makes he has a studio, photo studio, 404 Studios, and he makes some merch too. So we actually printed that on like a sweater and got it to Lil Yachty's dad. And a couple weeks later, they were at Thanksgiving dinner and got a photo of Lil Yachty's dad with the sweater with Lil Yachty. And I was like, this is cool. Like it's
Uh-huh.
all possible, you know. Like it's not as far
Mm-hmm.
as you might think things are and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. It's not really an answer, but I don't know. I've always just been around art and enjoy it. It just lets me kind of turn off my brain for a bit when I come up with a concept, and I can just focus in on that concept and just keep on turning.
So nice. I mean, there's a few points I want to kind of talk about there, but that's one thing I've kind of talked about. I think even on the last like one or two episodes is just kind of reiterating and telling people that the world is a lot smaller than they may think. Like, I didn't know anybody like a year and a half ago when I started this podcast, and now like my degree of separation from like big like A-list artists is way smaller than I ever thought it would be.
For real.
And like the connections and people I've been able to meet a year and a half ago blows my mind, and people that I can talk to or DM questions, or artists that I followed for 2 or 3 years beforehand. So it's it's not as daunting and impossible as it seems. So I really liked how you talked. You kind of pointed that out with the Lil Yachty sweater.
Yeah.
But I mean, talking about Atlanta, I mean that is from I've never been. I've always wanted to go, but I mean that I've had other people in the past on from that area, and they've always talked about it. Kind of being a like a really artistic city. There's tons of different art in the environment, and it's like a big thing there. So how would you say Atlanta affected your artistic journey?
Yeah, it definitely affected my journey. Like I said, I used to do a lot of video production, and so I would do rap videos for people. And that was also kind of a sort of getting my foot in the door type deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean, you could probably throw a rock into a crowd and you might hit someone who raps in Atlanta. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, they call it the city too busy to hate. There's definitely a lot of haters, but it's a good time. I moved down into like downtown, like closer to the actual city, probably in 2015, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a complete different experience. I had grown up on the outskirts of Atlanta, so I'd
Mm-hmm.
been down for like Thrashers games and stuff. But living down here, it's crazy. But yeah, there's always art. There's murals going up constantly. A lot of really good artists too. Just I don't know. There's a lot of really cool stuff in Atlanta that it's kind of sucks that people don't look at it as one of the bigger U.S. cities, but that's also kind of one of the
Yeah.
nicer parts about it too, is that like there's not much in terms of tourism here, but people who stay
Mm-hmm.
here, there's really nice parts of it. So
And I've heard great things, and I definitely want to visit. Sounds like a really cool place.
yeah, come through.
Um, and then I mean, you talked about it, I mean, a little bit in that answer in the past, but having a lot of your art is centered around like hip hop, or the artists and the albums. And obviously, growing up in Atlanta, where like you said, throw a rock in a crowd, you'll probably hit a couple rappers. How is hip hop, culture and music, inspired your art? A lot of it is kind of based around it. So I'm curious as to some of your favorite artists and albums.
Yeah, I got to say some of the top ones. I think it just did 10 years. Came out 10 years ago today, yesterday, something like that. Is a Good AM by Mac Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I've that's one of this. I remember buying the CD and not skipping a single song, just going through it, loving every single song. I think some of the songs are a little bit like "When in Rome" is great when you're trying to get hyped up and stuff. But I don't know, just
Mm-hmm.
top to bottom, that album is so good. I think the beginning of my kind of intro to hip hop, other than like the radio class like hits and all that kind of stuff, was
Yeah, yeah,
Kid Cudi's "Man on the Moon." I just remember
yeah.
listening to that like in Spanish before Spanish class in high school, like ninth grade ish, and I don't know, just loving it, like loving how it was just a mix of genres, sort of being like indie with a little bit of like hip hop, and it's I don't know, it was him humming and stuff. It's so good. So he definitely was one of like the first kind of people I saw to just be a little weird and like be okay with it, and it worked
Mm-hmm.
out for him. So I really enjoyed that. But I don't know. I have a lot of music people inspire me nowadays, because nowadays a lot of times you can't just make music. You have to make like the merch. You have to,
Hmm.
have rollout parties, have rollouts in general, all that kind of stuff. I just find so interesting, like different um, merch that's not like t-shirts and all that kind of stuff that people sell. I
Hmm.
don't know. I think it's just a huge world that a lot of maybe kind of upper corporate America stuff kind of still looks down on. Um, because I don't know, like you'll see some big companies like McDonald's work with Travis Scott and stuff, but you don't see it as often. Like you don't, I don't know. I feel like you wouldn't hear a Travis Scott song in like a Mazda commercial or something. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, they don't, I don't know. I think that people still look at hip hop as just a very single genre, when it really nowadays is like rock, where there's like indie rock, lo-fi rock,
Hmm.
like heavy metal. Like there's so many different genres inside hip hop, that I guess you can like, I don't know. It's easy to put a box around it, but I love just going outside that box and seeing what people can do with it.
So yeah, I think it's such a. I mean, it's 99% of the music I listen to. So I mean, it's such a wide genre, and so I think you kind of talking about how it needs to kind of expand, not in the sense of the music itself, but in how you know these corporations or different things kind of think about it. It makes me think of when Tyler won. I think he won like Rap Grammy of the Year like 2 3 years ago for
Hmm.
Igor, and
Hmm.
it's like not really a rap album, and so while there is, yeah, like you said, like stuff like Travis Scott McDonald's and what's I know there's Ice Spice and Dunkin' Donuts is like the newest one.
I'm so mad at myself that I didn't come up with that. I
Yeah.
remember thinking that. I was like, they've got to do a Munchkin thing. And then I think the idea is just, I was like, nah, that'll never happen, whatever. And then
Hmm.
see the ad. There's a few things like that I'm just,
Hmm.
I live in my own kind of twisted world of where any collaboration is possible. And so when I actually see one in real life, it kind of weirds me out a little bit. Cool one is Pokemon and Van Gogh Museum are doing a collab.
Oh, I
And
think
that's
yeah.
insane. I don't know. I think that's so cool. Like they're using like the sunflower Pokemon with like the
Uh-huh.
sunflowers, and I don't know. I can't. It's. I think they just teased it a bit, but collaborations
Hmm.
like that just blow my mind, and I think you're so cool.
Yeah, I think I saw a TikTok a couple weeks ago that was like a art museum. I don't think it was the Van Gogh one, but it was just like an exhibit of these like beautiful like ceramic Pokemon and all this different like insane stuff that incorporated Pokemon in kind of a like maybe it was a Pokemon but as like a pattern. So unless you like really looked up close, you couldn't tell, and it was just
Hmm.
really cool to see kind of Pokemon mixed with fine art.
Yeah.
And kind of speaking of Pokemon collabs, one of the things that you recently posted is you did a little kind of concept of cactus plant flea market and Pokemon, and I just think it was funny because I saw that on TikTok. And I forgot I followed you, and for like
Hmm.
the first 10 seconds, I was like, "What? This is sick! How am I just now hearing about this?" Like I thought it was a straight up
Yeah.
real drop because there's several like I mean you had like several different pieces, designs,
Oh yeah.
figures, shirts, hoodies. So I mean I think that's it was a really cool thing, and like I literally did think it was real until I like look at the comments and see this is my concept. I'm like, oh, okay, well this
Yeah.
is sick.
Yeah, I think I got a little bit of hot water for the TikTok. I don't know. I see people put stuff up all the time about like
Hmm.
fake concepts leaking and stuff. So I was like, why not?
Yeah.
I'll have some fun with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, on TikTok just said like new concept leaked, and
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I don't know. That was a really fun project. I designed like 16 different things,
Hmm.
mainly just because it would look really good in a 4x4 grid. Uh,
Hmm.
but I don't know. It was a good time. I really enjoy. All the work that comes out of them, and I think some of it's super inspirational, like what they did with McDonald's, and just shows how crazy people can get when certain collaborations can hit. Like
Hmm.
it's a small market, but it's a very dedicated market, I feel.
Hmm.
And so stuff like that's just fun. But no, I enjoy that. I love Pokemon. I grew up with Pokemon. I know we keep
Hmm.
saying that, and I wish I was sponsored by them with how many times we're saying it now. But yeah, I don't know. That was a really fun project, and that project also kind of opened my eyes a little bit, as I do most of my artwork I post on Instagram. I've this year I've been doing pretty much a project every week, and then I'll drop it around Thursdays at noon Eastern times. Go follow. And but that it actually didn't do too great on Instagram, but it did phenomenal on Twitter and TikTok,
Well,
especially Twitter.
hmm
But yeah, it's also just, I don't know, it shows how many just haters there are too. Though had a lot of hate comments, but at the same time, any repost or like quote tweet is engagement, so I'll take what
yeah,
I can get.
yeah, yeah. I get that. That's interesting. I don't really, I guess, follow a ton of artists on Twitter, or like I don't use it as like a main source.
Hmm.
So that is kind of interesting to hear that it popped off on there because I don't know how other people think at it, but a lot of the artists that I've had on the show before, usually they use TikTok and Instagram, and
Hmm.
then maybe YouTube or something, but they don't use Twitter. So I thought that was kind of interesting that it popped off on there. I mean, I know it's hit and miss on any website, but
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Twitter is a weird one, especially lately with the whole X thing, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It is very hit or miss. Yeah, it's just I really don't know. Like sometimes I think it's just like the stars aligning or the right person retweeting it
hmm
or using the right words or even using less words than you should. Sometimes
hmm
hashtags helps. I think sometimes they hurt in terms of
hmm
aesthetics and just that whole thing. Sometimes I've even found like using all lowercase letters can make a tweet do better than other ones.
Wow.
It's I don't know. It's a constant fight of just trying stuff out, and if it doesn't work, then tweet, delete, repeat. You know what I mean?
uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. I used to post the first like few episodes on Twitter, but then I was like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like I was not necessarily gaining much from it, but I was like, I'll just rather focus my time on like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and stuff because I don't want to spread myself too thin and like post on every platform, but then none of it
Yeah.
is formatted in the best way. So, but I
Hmm.
don't know. And then I've thought about going back, but yeah, it's been a weird year for Twitter slash X slash whatever. Um, but
Eggs.
yeah,
Gosh, when was the last
it's
time you
so
sent out a Z? It's I don't know. I saw
yeah.
some whatever you call it poll, and it was like 68% of users still call it Twitter, and I was like, that's okay, sure. You're telling
It's
me
got to be a
32% don't.
99%. Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, no, that's I'm in graduate school right now doing a degree in digital marketing, and
oh,
that's
nice.
my yeah, thank you. My social media marketing teacher, like, because I mean, we talk about Twitter like every class, every other class, and so she'll always like say Twitter, and she'd be like, I mean X, but you know what I mean. So she's corrected herself like every class, which I think is kind of funny. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever call it X. It's so
Yeah,
so weird.
it is. It seems like a few companies are doing this, and I don't know if it's like another example is HBO Max, just by going Max now. Like I think that's such
Yeah.
a strange thing. Like I don't know. Like to me, the strongest part of their IP is the HBO name, and just drop that,
hmm
make it sounds like it's like a Cinemax,
Yeah.
like streaming software or something. But then you have people who can use that effectively though too. Like I don't know if you remember a few years back, IHOP did the whole IHOB thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
flipped it. And I swear, I think they may have changed like one or two restaurants around the country. Because
Yeah.
every one of them that I saw was still IHOP, but it's one of those things that like, when's the last time you talked about IHOP? Like
hmm
it's not bad media if people are talking in terms of like nothing bad. You didn't do anything bad. You know what I mean? But you're
hmm
in the people's mind, and I think that's really impressive how they did that. But
Yes, I think that is a a good example because yeah, like in like all of my marketing classes, I mean that brand awareness and identity is so important. So that's why, especially with like Twitter and a tweet is like a verb, like everybody knows what that is. So now to change
mhm.
it is so weird. Like it has such a strong branding. And then yeah, with HBO Max and like the whole thing is HBO. So like to simplify it, I I mean I'm no marketing executive major, but to me it doesn't make any sense. But I do like the example you talked about with IHOP and IHOB. Like I think that was more just like a more like joking name change to like kind
Mhm.
of build like whoa wait what. So I think that in that sense it can be done really well, but to kind of I guess bring it back to like the collabs. I do think they are becoming more common, especially like we talked about the Ice Spice meal, and now it seems like there's one, every couple months with bigger artists and stuff.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to. I mean, you've done like we talked about those MF Doom skate decks with a friend of the show, Hip Hop Evan. Shout out Joey. I want to kind of talk about, I guess, what you can about that process. I know you posted an image a few weeks beforehand where you did like 18 different skate decks of different rappers. So I'm curious how it went
Hmm.
from like that to a physical product.
I think with that one, I had posted on TikTok, and a lot of people were just commenting about the MF Doom deck, and I think I posted my close friends, which Joey's one of them, and I was like, "Does anyone know where I could like make this?" And I think he replied within like 20 minutes, and it's like, "I got you." And then like I think by the next weekend he had a board, and I'm like, "This is so good." And I actually had an art show going on. I was like, "Dude, can you get me this board? I need it like for the show to put on just display." And it really kind of tied things together.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I really want to get into more doing physical products and stuff like that. I think that's always an end goal. But I'm also at a point right now in my art where I'm just kind of trying to make as much as I can, like design concepts and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And then like I don't know, I would love to just have like a person or a team or something, kind of working on the back end for uh, physical products, because that itself like is its whole thing. And like it's one thing to announce, like to put up the artwork. Like if I wanted to make Pokemon cards, I could make them in real life, but then I have to like make them, I have to wait for the printing process, all that kind of
Uh-huh.
stuff. And I'm just at a point where I'm just trying to put out art, and if it hits it hits, and if it doesn't it doesn't. And if it really hits, then that's when I know it's kind of more worth um,
Hmm.
maybe investing in making this real, because I don't know. It's one of those things where you never know. Maybe it's just I'm not don't have as big of an audience, but like you never know what's going to sell and what's not in terms of products. So I don't know. It's a scary thing to like put money down, but you also just kind of need to spend money to make money, though.
Hmm. Yeah. um, Definitely, but that's cool that like that definitely does sound like something he would do. Just hit you up like, "Yo, I got this," because yeah, it's insane what he does, and like I mean, he talked about it in our interview, but like he does, all that stuff like for the most part, like all by hand.
Hmm.
So like it's insane. So it was really cool when I saw that you two were collabing on that, and I'm not 100% sure when this episode will come out, and if they'll be available, but if you're listening, make sure to go check out Hip Hop Heaven's website. They're there. They're like insane. Like it's the MF Doom like graffiti font. If you've seen that, as a skate deck, they're so sick. Um, but let me talk
Fully
about.
skatable too.
Yeah, yeah, no, that'd be so sick. I'd be like so scared of like this is like skating on an art piece. Um, but kind of going through your site, I mean, you have like T-shirts and you've done like wrapper like glasses, like drinking glasses. But one of the like most interesting things I found was the Prosper Project shirts, where
Oh
you
yeah.
donate all of the profits to different charities. And I think you do like one shirt a month, and you collab
Hmm.
with a different like bigger artist. So I wanted to kind of ask you if you could kind of explain your idea for that, and what your end goal with that project is.
Yeah. I mean, you set it up really well. I think end of last year I kind of came up with this idea because I've just wanted to work with different artists on sort of a project, and the initial idea was the money can either go to a charity or go directly to that artist.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that artists, the starving artist is a stereotype for a reason. That's all I'll say. Uh, but yeah, it's been a fun process. We've worked with different like it's I guess we didn't work with charities, but we're donated to a bunch of different charities each month, from like
Mm-hmm.
Humane Society to the Skate Park Foundation, stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what the end goal with that is. I just wanted to do kind of a cool project where I work with artists, and the fact that it's doing something for like so helpful to other people, I think is just icing on the cake kind of thing. And yeah, we sell each shirt for the month that it's uh, available for, and then it's sold out after that. But yeah, and then I donate whatever, pretty much all the profits, or 100% of the profits, to charities whenever after. Sometimes I'll round up just a little bit just to throw in like whatever, but
Mm.
it's cool. It's a good process, or it's like good project, and yeah. it's been fun. Got some really cool designs out of it. Worked with some really cool people from all around the world. I think the first one was somewhere in Southeast Asia, the first artist. And then, yeah, from people to the US to France to uh, Ireland and Scotland, stuff like that. It's a fun process, and it feels like it's, again, like the world is much smaller now with social media. Like anything is possible. You just, can send
Mm.
as long as you can make art, you can send PNGs to wherever. You can print whatever these days, and yeah, no, it's a fun project, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I meant to bring that up at some point, so that's very natural of you. Thank you.
So yeah, yeah, no problem. I was just going through kind of your website, checking out all the project or products, and I saw a Prosper project, and then I started looking into it more, and I'm like, oh, because I think I'd seen you maybe post some of these, but I didn't like understand that the whole thing, um, and so it's really cool. I mean, I'm looking at it right now as well, but I'm pretty sure like. I don't know. I think there's 9 shirts. I think 7 or 8 out of the 9 are artists that like I follow and like I've followed for a while on Instagram. So it's cool that you've
Nice.
been able to, link up. And I just think it's such a cool idea. And like you said, whether it goes to the charity or even the artist itself, because yeah, the starving artist is a real thing. Um,
Everyone has gone to charity. That was just the initial kind of idea, but we have done
mhm.
it so that every time it's now it's kind of thing that it's more expected that it does go to charity rather than. But that
Okay,
was just the
gotcha.
initial idea. But yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, no, it's a cool project, and I mean I don't want to call this like a fan art community because I don't really like the title of fan art. To me, it's
Hmm.
like I don't know if you would call. Oh man, what's his face? Andy Warhol's, like when he did the art with like the Campbell's soup. Like I wouldn't call that Campbell's
Hmm.
soup fan art. I would
Yeah,
consider that like
no.
expanding past it, using familiar like motifs and
Mm.
logos and stuff like that. And that's where I really like to do, kind of like fit my niche, is that like using familiar and nostalgic elements in new kind of ways, that like either relate to current stuff or nostalgic stuff like toys or you know objects and whatnot.
Hmm. For anybody listening that wants to go check those out, one of the artists on this list is someone that will be in an upcoming episode. So I won't say who, but it's one of the 9, and not counting
Nice.
Joey because he did one with Joey. But if
Oh
anyone
yeah.
wants a little teaser, that doesn't really narrow it down. But it was a recent one. I'll say that it was semi-recent. Um, but another product that I thought was really interesting on your website, and I think you released it a few months ago, was the little like coloring slash activity book, where
Yeah.
you had a lot of like line art versions of different pieces you've made and different stuff. So I think it's really cool to have just like a little coloring book, activity book kind of a thing. How did you come up with that? I know this is your second one. I think you've done one the year
hmm
previous. So kind of how did that idea come about?
Um, I think I put out the first one around now last year, kind of like
Hmm.
early fall, end of summer. I really I don't remember why I came up with it. I really think I was just kind of like trying to come up with ideas for projects. Sorry, uh, and that kind of came up because I have the way I do a lot of my art is I'll do the drawing first and then use layers underneath that to color it in. So I could just go back in
Hmm.
projects, shy all the layers with colors in, and then I would have to reformat a little bit because most of my stuff is square. But just using that was an easier process. But yeah, I don't know. I last year just thought of it would be a cool idea, and I was like, well, I don't want to make actual books yet, so why not just give it out for free? So I just had anyone who emailed me with their name and favorite color, and I would just send back a zip file with like 28 pages of drawing, and then they could print it out or uh, paint it digitally if they could find a software or whatever, had access to a software to do that. But I don't
Hmm.
know. It's for kids or for adults, for teachers. Like it was kind of just for whoever. And then I wanted to run back that idea this year with two, and I found a good public, like a place to get the books printed, so I got a few of them printed out. But yeah, I'm still sending out digital ones if you want them, or go to my site. I still have a few physical ones left as well, probably depending on when you hear this. But yeah, this is a fun project. I always enjoyed coloring books, so why not
Hmm.
hook the people up.
So yeah, I think that ties greatly into what you mentioned a little bit earlier with kind of making more unique stuff. Like, I mean, you have T-shirts and hats and hoodies and stuff, but kind of have something a little different. Like, you don't see that. So I think that is really interesting and kind of cool idea. But I'm curious, do you have any other product types that is kind of like a dream project, maybe something you want to work on next year, or any product you've tried to make in the past but it didn't work out that you hope to do in the future?
Hmm. Um, I don't know. I mean, I live in the realm of anything's possible kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like it's all about kind of just knowing, having the right hookup, knowing who like find someone who can 3D sculpt, finding someone who can 3D print, um, being able to paint it, stuff like that. Um, I don't know. There is a little project though that I can tease that I haven't talked about too much, but it's I'm really excited about it. It should be releasing end of this year. I'm actually working with a really cool company to make my own designer watch. And we've been working all
Oh,
year
wow.
making prototypes, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm super hyped about it. It'll be cool. It's-
So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you don't really see, at least I haven't seen, watches that something that I feel like would be, a more difficult product to create. So I mean, that's cool that you're able to, partner with someone like that, and I'm interested to see, how that'll turn out. But then I'm kind of tying into that. One thing I wanted to ask you was, I think I mentioned it earlier, but you did one of those kind of like album artist related things with where you made watches for different
Mhm.
artists. And one of them was for Paramore, and you actually got to kind of make that watch physically and give it
Yeah.
to Paramore. So can you kind of talk about what that, how that came about and what that was like?
Yeah. Like most of my stories, it all starts with just someone randomly hitting me up on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just like this story right here. Yeah, I actually had a guy from the I forget what it's called, the stadium where they hold concerts in Toronto. The
Hmm.
name of it's escaping me right now, but yeah, he actually hit me up. He saw my watch project that I put out at the beginning of the year, which is also how the company I'm working with to make my watch saw and
Oh,
contacted
nice.
me and stuff. So yeah, it's really just putting stuff out in the universe, seeing what kind of
Hmm.
like reverberates with people. But no, that one was really cool. That one was a little bit difficult in terms of it was my first time kind of being an artistic director where I had to both work with the client, like be the main contact with that, but then also kind of have a team underneath me where I had
Hmm.
someone from Australia. It's Australia or New Zealand, I forget. I'm sure they absolutely hate that, but had someone there who helped me out. His name's Studio Boolean. He really cool guy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice. He's makes a lot of really awesome content. He's a really amazing 3D sculptor, and so essentially the process was I came up with. He hit me up to make watches. Originally, he wanted to do something for John Mayer back in the day, but the
Uh-huh.
timeline just didn't work out and all that stuff. So this time he hit me up. He's like, "We want to do 3 watches. They have 6 albums, so can we do 2 albums per watch?" And I was like, "Let's do it." So designed them in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. Got the sign off. Then once that was done, it was I sent them over to Studio Boolean. He sculpted them, and then we luckily found someone who could do 3D printing, which was really cool.
Hmm.
Name is Drax Custom Studio on Instagram. He mainly makes a lot of Funko Pop stuff, but he makes all this stuff, beautiful details and stuff. So I knew that he would
Hmm.
be good to help out with this. And he's more local too, I think East Coast somewhere. And
Hmm.
so yeah, he then had them to kind of connect, make sure that all the changes were doable, like all the little details, whatnot. And then once that was all done, got them printed, sent them to me, and I actually painted them all by hand, just because couldn't find anyone else to paint them. And I've done a little bit of kind of like miniature painting, like some
Uh-huh.
Warhammer stuff way back in like middle school. But I
Hmm.
also have a bunch of paint because I just do random projects and stuff. Some stuff may
Yeah.
see the light of day, some may never. We'll see. Uh, but yeah, I got to paint them, put them in like nice shadow boxes. Kind of helped put like backing behind the watches to make them like really stand out. Nice black curtain of sort. And then yeah, sent them up to Toronto, and they were gifted to Paramore. It was a really cool project, and it was really fun. And just I learned a lot about just keeping like a team on a timeline and all that kind of stuff, just to make sure all the wheels were moving when they needed to, and having a deadline and budget, all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. It was cool. It was an interesting project, but that was a lot of fun, and I would definitely love to do more stuff like that, working with venues for artist gifts. I think it's a really cool niche.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's cool, and especially nice to kind of hear the process of going from designing it to like, oh, now I'm like somewhat in charge of like the production, and I have to do all these moving parts, and
Yeah,
it's I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier with the making physical products and like the skateboard and stuff, but it's kind of interesting to hear how it went from someone saw it, reached out to you, then you reached out to like Studio Boolean, and then the 3D printer, and then you had to paint it and send it to them, so it's like there's a lot of moving parts.
oh yeah,
So it's interesting to just kind of hear that switch up from designer to more project manager
yeah.
in a way. And I mean, we've talked about you've collabing with Hip Hop Heaven. You've collabed with other brands in the past as well, like Unjust Jewelry, friend of the show. And I'm just curious, is there any artist or brand that would be like a dream collab for you?
It's I have a list in my head and it's never ending. I don't know. I mean, like we said earlier, Pokemon would be so fun to work with. I think they do really cool
Uh-huh.
stuff outside of their normal wares, like working with Daniel Arsham to make a lot of those very beautiful
Mm-hmm.
sculptures with
Those
crystal and
those
erosion. I think,
insane.
yeah, and the fact that they made like an animation for him as a trainer, I don't know, that whole thing I think is super dope. So
Mm-hmm.
something like that would be cool. But I mean, I don't know. I'd really like to work with just there's a lot of brands like from Nike to Haritos, like I don't
Mm.
know. It's as right now, I really would like to work with just any brand I can. I just have an end goal of just designing everything that you see just in the world. So everyone, I want to work with everyone.
Gotcha. Gotcha. If any brand owners are listening or anybody, hit up Ricky.
Sliding
See.
them DMs by.
So I'm going to talk, obviously about your art for the last like 40 minutes, but, what do you like to do when you're not creating? Like what do you do to, take a break and kind of step away?
uh, just a little bit of everything. Like mainly playing video games. Video games is a big
Okay.
escape from the art world, while
Mm-hmm.
still kind of just not having to go to out there. But I don't know. I like playing disc golf, like biking around Atlanta, especially through Piedmont Park. I think it's one of my favorite places to just kind of bike around. But I don't know. The last couple of years, I've really dedicated myself to just making art constantly, and especially this year, having to do or not having to do, but setting myself to a goal of doing like an art project every week. I'm kind of constantly on that, but yeah, I do a lot of freelance work too. I know that's still designing, but do a lot of freelance, and yeah, I don't know. I art's mainly my life right now. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of like good friends to hang out with at times, and they
Mm-hmm.
keep me away from my computer. But yeah, I am just an art AI bot right now, just trying to make as much as I can.
So I'm curious with, like you said, kind of, being on that grind this year, really kind of, having that a big, part of your time every day. Do you hit, like creative blocks often? And like, how do you go about, overcoming those if so?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's it's a bit of a changing answer. I also deal with depression sometimes, so that can also kind of hinder
Mm-hmm.
things in terms of just like wanting to put in that work and all that kind of stuff. Like I'd much rather just be watching, like anime or 90 Day Fiance, like just not doing anything. But
Uh-huh.
there's that part in the back of my head that just like it's like you've got to create, like you've got to like you've got to just get out there, you've got to make money, you've got to design, you've got to like do stuff. And I'm lucky to have that, because I think a lot of people don't have that kind of force to push them. But yeah, no, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I actually recently, just this past week, was kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna make art this week, but I think that's also okay because it's my own
Mm-hmm.
schedule that I'm putting out on, and I think I've put out like 48 projects or something like that this year alone.
Phew.
Yeah, like I think I've
Uh-huh.
taken 3 off weeks, maybe.
Dang.
Maybe not 48. That's, I'm thinking 52 is a full year. But a lot.
Hmm.
I can't fully remember. I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
I have them all
still.
listed. Yeah, sorry. Just thinking
Hmm.
48 does sound like too many. But yeah, but I mean, each project consists of at least, like 4 to 10 slides of different artwork and stuff. So it's a lot. But I don't know. My saving grace is I just have a list on my computer that anytime I come up with an idea, I just put it down on there, and we'll just kind of like go back, revisit it, and be like, this is a good idea, this isn't, all that kind of stuff. But the ideas that really stick with me, um, like I'll come up with an idea and then maybe not do anything with it for a few months, and then think of it again a few months later. I'm like, I should really do this. Like, it's if it's good enough to
Hmm.
kind of come back into my head again, like, then there's obviously a reason that it's resonating so much. So just doing that. But yeah, I don't know. I Creative block is definitely a thing, but I'm lucky because I haven't kind of pinned myself to a median in terms of like just anime art or just skateboard art, stuff like that, that I
Hmm.
can really just kind of have fun with it. Like designing anything. And just last week came up with an idea to maybe do like golf courses, like rap albums as golf courses, do like Young Thugs, so much fun, stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. It also makes me really appreciate design in the real world, because to design a golf course it's epic, like in terms of scale and like
Yeah.
flow of play and all that kind of stuff. Like there's so much that goes into design, and every type of design is different. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question too well. I try not to get it, is my answer to that. But
Uh-huh. Yeah.
it definitely hits. I think it's impossible not to. But um, I think the creator of Rick and Morty, Dan Harmon,
Hmm.
he had these really inspirational words that definitely ring with me, where he talks about a spider making a web, and a lot of people think that this spider is like making its web, like it's one web for its one life kind of thing, like it's doing that Mozart moment. We all want that Mozart moment where you like wake up and just instantly start playing the piano. That might not have been Mozart, I don't know. But it's one of those things where the spider just makes the nest and moves on to the next web, and that's it. Like the web might be admired, like it might be hit just right, the morning light with some like dew on it, and looks super cool, but it also might get
Hmm.
swatted down by a broom. Like they're both the same thing. It just depends on how people see it and how people perceive it. So I've just learned to kind of make it, put it out in the world, and see how it does. And if it doesn't do great, then I don't have to go back to that concept. But if it does good, then I can maybe revisit it in the future. So yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I know those are kind of Dan Harmon's words, but it's still, I think, a pretty good quote. And I mean, you touched on, I think, kind of two of what from talking to other artists, kind of their two biggest, I guess, advice or kind of things that help them with overcoming any creative blocks. Which that would be like to switch it up, like you said, having different mediums and different type of pieces, and not just make like rappers in the style of this, and then even if it does well on Instagram, it might still be you know better for you, if even if it's a little worse for the algorithm. To do something that is different, or maybe challenges you a little bit.
Hmm.
And then also that kind of work life balance, with trying to push yourself, especially if you're trying to do freelance, or surviving as an artist. I'm sure that's a ton of pressure, and you have to kind of find that balance of how far do I push myself and discipline myself, but also let myself breathe, and let myself have fun, because I mean making art is stressful at times, but it's fun, and everybody does it because they love it. So
Yeah, no, definitely. There's that first. It's what is the meme where like you love the art when you're starting to make it, and then by the end of the project, you just want to be done. Like you just you're just pushing that to the end zone or whatever. But yeah, no, again, yeah, I'm lucky that I've kind of not cornered myself. It's both a hindrance and good in my opinion, because a lot of successful social media is very niche. Um,
Mhm.
it's because I think someone equated it to like a restaurant menu. Like if you go to a restaurant and the menu has like, like Italian food, Chinese food, all this different stuff, you're going to kind of like not know where to look and not be
Mm-hmm.
into it as much as you would be. It's like, oh, I want Italian food, let me go to an Italian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But I also enjoy being like, like going to an Italian restaurant and maybe they have like a mix of like Thai food or something, like having the
Mm-hmm.
little bit of the unexpected, I think, can leave more of an impact than just like creating a product, putting it out, and then just doing the next thing that's the exact same product.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think that kind of challenging yourself and pushing yourself can be extremely beneficial, especially the more and more you do it. Um, and then I mean, like yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Kind of like the restaurant, like a menu. People might want to follow you for like you make rap art in a specific style, and that's like all you do, and you might get a lot of good interaction from that. It might not be as beneficial for you as an artist in general. And so I think I mean personally, like I like following you because like I to an extent like don't know what I'm gonna see. Like is it gonna be you know is it gonna be a MF Doom skate deck one week, and is it gonna be rapper golf courses the next? Like
You never
it's kind
know.
of like a cool it's like a cool mixed bag. And so I think that is a important thing, and I think a really good kind of analogy or whatever for kind of how to look at it, especially with like social media and the almighty algorithm and everything.
Ugh, that thing.
Yeah, been having a good time with it recently, but just got to keep creating, and I know eventually everything will happen the way it's meant to.
Yeah, no, I mean it's you like it really doesn't. Everyone thinks you need like 100,000 like followers on Instagram to like be successful, but
Mm-hmm.
it's way more molecular than that. Like I just saw some. I think Adidas put out a new uh, something to do with the Sambas or whatever, like some new campaign. And I follow one of the
Mm-hmm.
guys who was working on it, and he like tagged everyone who was on it, maybe like 8 to 10 people. And I just kind of went
Mm-hmm.
through and like looked, and like I think maybe the person who had the most followers was like 5,000 or something. Like it doesn't matter. Like
uh,
we put so much like value into that, and I think like for a reason, because it's dopamine to our brains seeing that number go up,
mm-hmm.
but it really doesn't. I think it's about who follows you, not how many followers you have these days. I think that connections really outweigh the number of like so-called people who interact with stuff, because I don't know, you just it's I'll see someone hit me up with like a million followers, but no one that I know follows them, and I really just kind of, I don't know, it's not as big of a deal to me, if that makes sense, as if it would be someone with like
Mm-hmm.
2,000, but they're followed by like Diplo and like crazy, like like Nike or just stuff like that. I think that's so much more like impressive and cooler than the number of followers. So it's just yeah, finding the right connections and seeing what works, and being very how would you say, like aware of stuff like that. I do that all the
Mm-hmm.
time, where I'll try to follow someone, and if they like post who else worked on the project, go check that out and give them a follow. If their content seems kind of similar to mine, or like in line with the vision, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just give them a follow. And I mean, worst case scenario, they don't follow you back, and you can unfollow them like months later or whatever if you need to. Not putting value into a follow or whatever, but to me, if that's a chance for them to see my work is just a follow, then why not? It's a click of a button that could easily
Mm-hmm.
change a direction of how your art or whatever goes, just by the right person seeing your artwork at the right time.
Mm-hmm. So I mean you've touched on it several times earlier when we were talking about like the watch and different projects you've worked on, how like a lot of it starts in the Instagram DMs, like like you wanted to make the skateboard. Joey was like, oh hey, I can do this, and it was just because you posted on a close friend's Instagram story. So I think there's, yeah, like you said, kind of a lot of I mean I think it's a kind of a common like business term or whatever, but or quote, but your network is your net worth. So yeah, I think it's definitely
Bars.
a lot about like is about kind of who and I think that's one thing I've realized I was actually thinking about it earlier, but how like my podcast is followed by so many artists that, a year and a half ago, like I was like, these are like, people I, like and follow and see their posts like every day. And, kind of not necessarily celebrities, but like, people that I, look up to and am inspired by. And to see like so many of these like bigger artists and stuff follow me. And I feel like I'm getting more of that in the coming months, just because, people can see like, oh, this podcast is followed by, 20 other cool artists that I follow. Oh, let me check that out. So I think that is an important thing. And, kind of what you talked about, the dopamine, like the numbers do feel good, but sometimes, the, someone that you've looked up to or, were inspired by 6 months ago could follow you. And that means so much.
Yeah. Oh, for real.
Or like someone, someone could reach out to you and be like, hey, like, I mean, for my example, people like message me saying like, hey, I was listening to the podcast the other day, and someone actually, shout out Molly, I was texting him, a friend of the show, before the episode, and he said he listened to one of the recent episodes while he's like playing video games, and like
nice.
That, it is so cool to me to think that, the podcast exists the moment, like after I put it out, it's not just there for like one day, and like, people can go back, a month later, 2 months later, a week after, and go and listen to it. So I think that's an important thing. And,
yeah. You said their name was Molly? Who was it?
Yeah, Molly.
Say, I mean, Molly could be listening to this right now. And then it's like, how crazy is that? Molly's being talked about this podcast. We've said your name like 3 times, 4 times now, Molly. How does that feel? It's such a small world. Like it's crazy. Like it's both a small world and a big world at the same time. Like it's always getting bigger, but it's also getting smaller. It's a very weird paradox that social media has put us in, but it's cool. It's just a tool you've got to like learn how to use. And I mean, I don't know if you know, like you had Annabelle Klein a few episodes back, I believe. She just got reposted by Drake on his Instagram story. I don't know, like how wild is that? Like, I mean, she's awesome. I really love all that she does and is about, but like just what a wild, like I mean, I don't know, like there's so many people who probably don't know who she is, but the fact that that's happened, like that's huge. You know what I mean? Like and a lot of people might look at it and not go follow her, but if you just get the right person who follows Drake, which again, probably throw a rock into a crowd, you'll hit someone who follows Drake. Like that's all you need. Like you don't need like the 10,000 followers from that post or whatever. You just need those good 3 followers that's like who can help you out and have a similar vision to you and are a doer. You just got to be a doer. But no, I think that's, I don't know. I saw that yesterday and I was like, no way. Like she, I think posted it on her Instagram story and I was like, no shot. And like went to his Instagram immediately and was like, wow,
same.
That's so cool. Like just like, and the thing is she probably made that not having that as an end goal. She just made that because she enjoyed the song or those lyrics. Like I think that's so just inspirational that, again, small world, but also big world.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a thing like, I mean, you never know who's watching, who knows who.
Yeah.
Like, like Drake might not see your story, but, Drake's, friend or, someone in his team might see your story and be like, oh, hey, we should like hit up this person to do some project or something. So,
absolutely.
There's like every, bigger artist or brand or something, has a team. There's not just the founder or like the one main person. So I think, the world is small. And I really like how you brought up that example because, that is something that, I mean, just happened like a day or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And so, I did the exact same thing. I saw the post early in the day. I liked it. It's like, oh, that's cool. And then later I see like she posted like Drake posted me on a story and I was like, what? Like, that's so crazy. So I mean, it's, not that I, am, like I'm, getting Drake's number tomorrow, but like it's still cool that someone I've had on the show is someone that, Drake's, saw a TikTok from and like reposted.
Yeah, no degrees of separation, man. It's constantly lowering. No, for real.
Yeah, no. So cool. But I think that's cool, and there's there's pros and cons to social media, but I think in the end, just create cool stuff, create stuff you like. You get better every time. Just keep pushing yourself. But I mean, to kind of start, wrapping it up a little bit. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Maybe for like any upcoming projects or collabs for the end of this year or next year, or maybe some like final advice you wanted to give to anybody listening?
Um, I mean, it's constantly changing. I just like this morning, and it's one of those things too, where in at least my experience in design is that if the more you make, the more of a chance you have it to be reality. And when I say that, I don't just mean
Mm-hmm.
like make everything, throw it at the wall, but like just I don't know, try different stuff. I recently had a bicycle company hit me up to help design a bicycle, and I'm just like, what, dude? Like, how do you design a bicycle? Like, what does that mean?
Uh-huh.
And but then they sent me like a bunch of their stuff, and they have worked with like Taco Bell and The Simpsons, and done these
Oh
really cool
wow.
concepts of just where they change the hand grips up a little bit, the like art on the actual bike itself, colors of seats,
Mm-hmm.
seat bags, all that kind of cool stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know. I think he hit me up and he was like, "Yeah, can you do some concepts?" And I said, "Sure." And then I think later that day, I was like, "I don't even know where to start." But a couple days later, I was just like, you know what? Let me just try making some stuff. Start with an idea and kind of push it from there. And yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
easily could. But the thing is it easily could lead nowhere. Like that person I
Mm-hmm.
emailed is just an email. Like they could easily never talk to me again. And that's I think just part of the design life. So
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, just I mean, just make stuff that you think is cool. Don't worry about like trying to make the next big thing, the next viral post or whatever. Just make stuff, and it could do well, and it could do absolutely poorly. Like it could be s- like it's like the spider web, man. Like it could be beautiful and like have the shining light from like the dew, but it also could be walked straight through and like ruin someone's day,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I don't know. I try to message people back when they Instagram message me so people can hit me up if they have other questions. But yeah, follow along. Um, I'm at Riki Prosper everywhere. Riki Prosper. That is my actual first and middle name. People think that I'm just some wannabe share like whatever, and it's yeah. No, my parents were just kind of weird and named my middle name that, so that's why I go by that. But no, that's the hill I'll die on, I guess.
Well, nice. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. I can't wait to see some of the little collabs and stuff that you talked about and future post ideas. But yeah, all of your links and everything will be in the bio of the video or the description on whatever platform anyone may be listening. If you guys liked, make sure to like the video, subscribe. Make sure you go and press the subscribe button. I think I have like 71% of people aren't subscribed, so go hit that out. Like the podcast if you liked it; it helps out a ton. Comment, let me know what you liked, you didn't like, who you want to see next. And once again, Ricky, I appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah,
Hope to have you
thank you
back
so
on in the
much.
future.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.